Welcome back, friends. So today I'm going to be unboxing and testing out the Harbor Freight Central Machinery 30-pound capacity benchtop abrasive blast cabinet. That's Harbor Freight SKU number 59477. Price is around 200 bucks. So let's jump right into the unboxing here. Got some weird cardboard, kind of keeping the cabinet in. There's not a whole lot to the cabinet itself. A little bit of a struggle bus on the actual unboxing here. I think I decided to just yeah, here we go. Rip this box open. I hope that doesn't void the warranty. You do need an air compressor for this. And then some power for the little light that is included inside the cabinet itself. All right, taking a closer look here inside. Here's the view from the window. Glare, of course, is kind of killing it. Opening it up here, you can kind of see it's pretty big opening. Really nice. You can easily fit like a motorcycle fender or something in there, if it's not too big, I guess. Oh, yep, hello, nice to meet you, cabinet. So it comes like pretty much 95% pre-assembled. There's a couple things you need to set up. That's the little drain down there when you want to change your media or whatever, filter it out. So you've got to set up the light here, a little bit of wiring, which is like super easy, and then the gun, the little blast gun itself. We'll be going through that together, friends. Yeah, the gloves felt pretty good. Pretty easy to, plenty of room to work around. You can definitely reach every part of the cabinet with them and operate the gun, yeah, pretty decently. I feel like Harbor Freight in the last few years, I don't know, maybe that's been their plan all along, but they've really like stepped their game up quite a bit. Even I believe like Central Machinery, I think this is kind of their lowest tier stuff, and even this stuff is pretty decent. So all right, jumping into this little box. This is all the parts and pieces. Here's the gun, pretty decent. Not obviously not the best. It's Harbor Freight. It does come, those little pink guys, I didn't really say anything about those. Those are different tips for different size media. Here's all the little bits and bobs, the air couplers, hardware, etc. It does, I was kind of impressed. It does come with some Teflon tape for everything, which is really nice. AC for the light, of course. Here's the silicone sealant. Little thing for the silicone sealant. I believe you need a caulking gun to use that, but even deeper dive into the hardware. Nothing special here. This is just hose clamps, a bunch of screws, some washers, and then the air fittings. There's a coupler and then two little barbs that thread into the coupler with some washers for that. Okay, on to the first piece of assembly. Here is the light. This is really easy to do. Just got to hook up the two wires to the switch inside of this guy. There's two little barbs. I just matched the colors to the other wires that were already on there, and it works great. So simple to do. You can pull the wire out of the unit if it's a little short. I was kind of struggling here before I realized, yeah, just pull that a little bit. Whoop, there we go. That gives you plenty of slack to work with. Here's a little close-up of the wires, just for those that really need that. So the two on the top, the red and the blue, matched up with the two on the bottom, the red and the blue. And with that, we've got power to our light here. This thing was pretty bright. I was happy about it. Okay, on to the next struggle. A little bit of it'd be nice if it included some like decent instructions. It's got paper with like words on it, but they're just kind of a suggestive sort of thing. But yeah, anyway, this is the media hose, which is the bigger, clearer one with the bigger hose clamps going onto the one exposed tube inside the cabinet, and then the other side of the hose connects to the feed part of the gun, which is like the larger barb in front of the trigger. So pretty easy stuff. I'm not sure why I was using a cordless drill for this. It's kind of overkill, but we're adding a little bit of that thread tape, which is nice that they included. We're doing the air portion. So we got the media part done. We got the electronical light switch thing done, and now this is all the air. It wasn't, well, I'm pretty not smart myself, but it wasn't entirely clear on the instructions how this coupler should be set up. It sort of was suggestive, and the suggestions were kind of, to me, seemed off a little bit. So this was how I got it to work, and it didn't leak. So I put the first barbed part into the cabinet here, which I'm completely blocking with my hand. There we go. That barb has a metal washer and the rubber gasket on it. And that's pushing through the cabinet itself and goes into the coupler on the other side, which I'm now tightening. I'll give you a view from the other side here. So just the coupler here, tightened into the first barb, and then here's the second one. This is going to be the air connector. This came with an O-ring on it, and I just left the O-ring on and tightened it up to the coupler here, which I should have been holding with another wrench, but whatever. And that all worked, as in did not leak. This is a great shot, completely blocked by my shoulder here. What we're doing here is hooking up the blast gun, there we go, which is that orange tube, to that barb that we just installed, and it's got hose clamps on it, and then that goes to the bottom of the gun. The handle of the gun has a barb on it already, and yeah, there you go. Wham bam, thank you, man. All right, and with the air portion of the cabinet set up, there's only one last little piece here, or a couple little pieces, I guess. This is the vacuum line, which I don't have a vacuum line or whatever set up in my workspace, but you still have to kind of set this guy in, and then there's a little cover, a little cap that presses into it. This was another portion that I wasn't entirely sure how it goes together. I assume the vacuum line goes over this or whatever and clamps around this portion. It was a little weird, a little awkward tightening this. I had to actually stick my hand into one of the gloves to hold the screwdriver because I have pretty short little T-Rex arms. But that worked. And then, yeah, there's a little cap that presses into this so you don't get your media all over the place. And then there's a bigger cap that goes on the back of the cabinet. There it is, capped up. And the air line is on. Overall, the coupler did not leak, and the orange hose did not leak. But what did leak was the barb on the bottom of the gun. That's what you can hear. I attempted to fix this, which was a failed attempt, and so I might have to return that gun or try to find a replacement. The barb came pre-installed on the gun, and it just seemed like it maybe didn't have Teflon tape on it or thread tape or whatever, which is ironic because they include that in the box. All right, here's what you're here for, right? The actual use of this for a $200 blast cabinet. I don't have tons of blast experience here. As you can see, I'm just shooting shit everywhere like an idiot. But this thing worked. Out of the box, it worked. I opted to use glass bead media. So I used about 5 pounds of media, which I should have bumped up to like 10 or so or more. The cabinet can hold 5 to 30 pounds of media, and I should have used way more than 5. 5 is like barely, the straw was like barely being able to suck it up. But even with the bare minimum, it was still working. It was still working really good. My metal storage, these pieces of metal just sit outside year round. They get rain, snow, and all kinds of crap all over them. And this knocked it down to like a shiny matte. I don't know how to describe it. It almost looks like aluminum. Where it was struggling again, I believe, was just the straw itself for the media was just barely sipping off the top of the pile down there. So then the other thing I tried was a different nozzle. So one of those pink nozzles, I swapped that out with a slightly larger one. That also seemed to help a little bit. It comes with 4 different sizes. And I think a kind of in the medium range seemed to work pretty good. I could tell this cabinet actually would get its stride when the pile of media would like kind of knock itself over to the straw. It would get its stride and really start to like paint the metal off, like remove it like crazy, super well. So I don't want to discredit it too much. I think a little bit more media would make a big difference. So yeah, when it would kind of catch its stride, it would work super good. I was pretty impressed, even with the leaky gun. That was kind of the first and only major disappointment with the cabinet, was the gun leaking. But besides that, everything was pretty decent. I realized also the silicone sealant, I believe, is supposed to be used on the seams of the cabinet, kind of like all over really, to keep as much as the media inside the cabinet as possible. It did have not the most perfect seal. So I noticed some of the media did work its way out of the cabinet as I was using it, even on this like kind of small first impression spray. I'm not sure. I would imagine a more expensive cabinet probably wouldn't leak as much. I wonder how the performance is. I think there's a couple variables to the performance, like the type of media you're using, the air compressor you've got, and the piece of metal or whatever you're working with. But I think overall, for pulling this thing out of the box, assembling it with questionable instructions, and then hooking it up to a 10-year-old air compressor, it worked. I will try to address the gun issue, see if I can either get a replacement for it or repair the leak somehow. I'm also going to be testing out different media types, and then maybe even 3D printing some accessories for this cabinet to make it a little easier to work with. But yeah, overall pretty good for 200 bucks. Yeah, it does the trick, and it seems big enough to hold like a motorcycle fender, or you know, like a car spring or something. And here we go. Here's the final product. I definitely could have spent more time on it. Had the gun been kind of sucking up the media, I believe, like it should, it probably would make quick work of this. But again, overall, pretty impressed. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I appreciate that so very much. If you feel like I've earned your like, or subscription or a comment, I very much appreciate that. Those always make my day. I read and try to respond to every single comment. If you like this type of stuff, let me know. All right, have a nice day. Thanks.